Hi guys, welcome to LP Spotlight. Today, I am very excited to have this guest on my show. I've been a huge fan of hers since forever. Amy Roloff. Amy Roloff is a TLC reality star. She has been on Little People Big World for 17 years and 24 seasons. Hi Amy, how are you? Thanks for coming.
Hey, Callie, I am doing great. Thank you for having me on. I was more than happy to do this with you, so I'm excited.
So, for people that don't watch the show and don't know you, what is the type of dwarfism?
Wait a minute, what? People haven't watched the show? No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. That is one thing I don't assume. I don't assume anybody that I meet or anything like that have watched the show. I look at it that people call me by name. I don't know. I turn around and say, "Hey, hi." But I have achondroplasia dwarfism, and so that is really basically we typically have an average size torso, but shorter arms and legs with a slightly larger head. And I always joke, it doesn't mean I'm smarter, but I like to be. Anyway, achondroplasia dwarfism.
Growing up with achondroplasia, what was your childhood like? Were you treated differently by your siblings, your parents, and your friends? Or did they treat you just like the average Joe, just the same?
Well, because I'm as old as I am, I can look back and have a perspective on that. And I think I always knew it, but I think I placed my dwarfism on me a lot more than I think anybody else did. Meaning, kids aren't being friends with me because I'm a little person. Or the older I got, I didn't get that job because I was a little person. Or, other things that may have happened because I was a little person. And it's a sad, kind of difficult place to be in because you've now hid or had this roadblock that you created more so than anybody else, and you prevented anybody else from coming in. So in regards to my family, no, my parents treated me just like any of my other siblings. Nothing I would have to say necessarily was catered to me because I was a little person. Back in those days, we had the little rotary phone and we had a long phone cord, none of this, cell phone business stuff that my kids, half their life have grown up with. Anyway, so when the phone rang, I couldn't reach the phone. So I had a stool. We had a stool right by the phone all the time. And I had a stool in the kitchen, or I had a stool in the bathroom and stuff. And at the time, I mean, that never bothered me because that was just my life. I was still able to get the phone. You just climb up, 2 steps on the stool, get the phone. Or, my mom may have had a harder time because I did do this when I was younger. I'd climb on the kitchen cabinet to get, the glass or the
Yeah.
on the bottom shelf at all. But the one thing I really appreciated them, my parents were very practical, very real people. They weren't like what I would say overly lovey-dovey and, just cater to me. But as I look back on it, that was probably one of the best things that they've ever done because they helped me to function in my own home, which in turn, I think helped me function at least a little bit of that independence the minute I go outside my house. And now the personal stories and the bullying and stuff like that, I absolutely got. But in regards to my family, no, they just thought, oh, she's our sister. Okay. She happens to be different, a little person. Okay. It wasn't until they got older that they saw how other friends and other people responded and looked to me that they got a little bit like, what? Like, wait a minute, that's our sister. What are you doing? So.
Do you let your dwarfism define your life? Like you get, like dictate how you choose to live your life?
I think in a lot of ways, yeah, I let my dwarfism define me. I would have to say I did not have a lot of confidence in myself. Internally, I knew I could do something. I knew I wanted to do something, but it stopped me from taking that chance or that risk because I always felt like being different, if you fail, somehow that is overemphasized because you're different. Oh, well, if she failed at this, then of course she can't do this, this, and that, which has nothing to do with any of that. But because people saw you not do it well or fail. So unless I thought it could work, not necessarily be perfect, but that it could work, I wanted to be a teacher. I should have, I've got a college degree, Bachelor of Science in business. I wanted to be a teacher though. Oh, I so wanted to be a teacher, but I thought, well, how can I teach? These kids are as tall as me. I knew I could teach, but how are these parents going to respond to me? How are the other teachers going to respond to me? Oh, I have to use the stool. Then everyone gets paranoid that the kids will climb on the stool and fall off, or, but I know a lot of little people that are teachers,
Yeah.
but not at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't highly involved in LPA, Little People in America, LPA. And so I personally think I let my dwarfism get in my own way.
Mm-hmm.
I think I put up a little more roadblocks unnecessarily. So not only did I have the roadblocks that other people may have put up with, put in front of me, challenges, that kind of thing, but I had my own layer to get through. So no, and it had nothing to do with, my growing up, my parents. I think it was just something internally that, and, I'm not here, to blame my family or parents, because I think every parent, is doing the best they can. On one hand, I'm glad that they weren't overly like, okay, we got to prepare this for Amy. We got to make her feel good. We got to make her feel comfortable. I think that's a false sense of going out there. However, it also can give that individual, that little person, a lot more confidence that, yes, I can. Okay, I don't care what other people tell me, but yes, I can. So I kind of wish my parents were a little more lovey-dovey, a little more,
Really?
okay, Amy, you know what? You got this. But I did not express a lot to them. When I got bullied and teased, it's not like I ran home and told my parents. I thought, oh, I should be able to handle this. Not that something's wrong with me, but why are they doing this? I don't get it. I kind of like me, like, okay, I'm different, whatever. It's really kind of weird. It wasn't until we got onto TV that I looked at myself. I said, oh, yeah, probably should lose a little weight here. Oh, yeah, you are a little person. What? When we look at ourselves in the mirror, we can have a horrible image of ourselves, or we can look at ourselves. Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. But depending on how you look at yourself in the mirror, if you don't look at yourself in a positive way, but other people are giving you positive accolades, you don't trust it, you don't believe it, because that's not how you're seeing yourself. But if you see yourself very positive, very, hey, I can do anything underneath the sun, but then you're getting this lot of negativity. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, something's wrong with these people.
Yeah.
So I usually like to have a realistic thing. And I think it's very important to give yourself good affirmations, because you've got, if anyone's got to believe in you, it should start with yourself. But I'm also not a fan of all of this self-centeredness that I think so many people are getting into, because you're never going to find that perfect place. You'll have moments of it.
Yeah.
Then you got to go back into yourself.
Yeah.
And so, but I think it's very good to have moments that you just do something for you, self-care. Just do something for yourself, because there's a whole lot of other people that could really benefit from you. But if you're so focused on yourself all the time, how can you turn that over and, be an inspiration or help someone else?
So you kind of answered this other question, but we're gonna ask, how
Oh,
long
I could probably add more to it.
how long have you been a part of LPA, and has LPA been a positive influence on your life?
We got involved probably more on a district level or chapter level, maybe when I was like in late grade school, maybe. We met Ron Rosskamp on a camping trip. My family and I were camping, and they bumped into him, or he bumped into us, and was telling my parents, hey, there's this organization, Little People of America, blah, blah, blah. And I never went to a national conference when I was living with my parents.
Really?
My first national was after I graduated from college, and that was the one held in Detroit in 1986.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so anyway, so I went to chapter meetings. I went to local district meetings. If they were out of state, my parents didn't go. My parents, I think, were really waiting for me to say, oh yeah, I want to go. I want to go. Well, I never quite did that. And so that's one of the things I wish they would have done. Like,
you.
you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Well, encouraged me.
Okay, yeah.
Encouraged me to go.
Yeah.
But my first LP chapter meeting or whatever, I was like, there's no way on this green planet I look like these people. There's just none. No, I am different. No, they're it terrified me
Really?
because I've never seen really another little person, and we all come in different shapes and sizes. And I was like, gosh, is this how people see me? Because it's not how I saw myself. When you're in the average size world, I mean, you're just trying to manage and, hopefully do well and do the things you want to do and be successful at it. But slowly, as I went further, I thought, you know what? There's some really awesome people here. There's some really intelligent people. There are people here that are doing things that I know I could, but never took the chance to do. And they're just doing it, whether it be career-wise, whether it be activities or something of that sort. And so then I began to say, no, this is a very valuable, important organization, I think, to have in your life. But with that, what is it called? Well, with that being said,
Yeah.
I'm also glad that my parents did not make LPA my life. I think there's a lot
Why
of
you say that?
I think there's a lot of average size parents who every vacation is going to a national conference. Every focus is a district meeting or a chapter meeting or something like that, which if that's what they feel they need to do for their family, that's great. I mean, we were involved a lot. Matt was president. I was on the board, district directors. I was chapter president. I mean, we definitely did a lot in it. But most of my life, depending on the area you live in, but most of my life is in the average size world. And I think there's some little people who get too comfortable being around little people. They don't embrace their life being a part of the average size world as much because it's lovely. It's easier. But yet when you get involved with a bunch of little people, guess what? We're just like everyone else. It's like, no, I don't like that person. No, we got a different person now. Oh, you know what? I want to hang out with, because they're friends, we have something in common.
Yeah.
Little people in America, we've got different races, we got different faiths, we got different types of dwarfism, all of this stuff. We're a little micronism thing of society that is intense. So but for me it is nice to have LPA, but it's not only just nice to have LPA around. You need to invest, you need to get involved in the community, in your community. But it's hard to meld those two together, the average size world and the little people community world, because these people really don't get it. Like I was quite nervous. I'm remarried now to Chris Merrick. We've been dating for a while and we're going on to our second anniversary. Anyway, I was very nervous of him going to the first function. I mean, it was Spokane. It was last year's national conference.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, okay, Chris, Matt, you've seen my son. But that's on one here, okay. Matt's a different kind of dwarfism. Zach's a dwarf, you get used to that and everything. Because, Chris is tall. I mean, and then I had to give him an idea. I felt like I had to give him an idea. I cannot have this guy just show up cold. I said, understand, there's going to be a whole bunch of little people. We come in all different shapes and sizes. There's going to be a lot of average size people here because they'll probably be parents of a lot of these littles, teenagers, whatever. And they're all going to look at you like
you're the odd duck.
saplings and you're the big, redwood tree. You know, they're going to be looking like, okay,
Okay.
what are you doing here? Why are you here?
Mhm.
And so, and sometimes I think it's hard to blend
Mhm.
those two worlds. And like I said, I really want to, make the
How did
statement. This
he
is from
do?
my perspective. So I'm not
Mhm.
claiming that this is like for everybody. But so I think it's hard to blend
Mhm.
one world into the next. And so
Mhm.
if you're so focused on the world that you'd love to be more of and a part of, but you
Mhm.
don't have a whole lot of little people living near you or, anything like that,
Mhm.
the majority of your life probably will be in the average size world, the people you work with and everything like that.
Mhm.
So embrace it.
Mhm.
Yes, you're always going to have challenges. Yes, you're always going to be maybe denied a promotion or denied getting that job, but you may have to take more steps. The thing that I always
Mhm.
told Zachary was, yeah, your brother will be able to walk in the room and everyone will cater to him because, he's a good kid. He's good looking, and
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
They may not even see you. They'll forget that you guys are twins.
Mhm.
Or they'll take a glance and give you some consideration, but they'll gravitate towards him.
Mhm.
Is it fair? No. Is it a good thing, comfortable? No. Do we always want to go into those situations feeling that we might have to go through those layers? No. But I
Mhm.
told them, but if this is something you really want, get it into your brain. If you really want it, you may have to try 15 times where
Mhm.
your brother only has to try 3.
Mhm.
It's life. No one always means to be mean about it
Mhm.
or whatever.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think you can read people.
Very
Oh,
well. Yeah.
he's got something. Okay, maybe I don't want this job because he's got issues. That individual over here has
Yeah.
got issues. But I think in general, most people I don't think mean it. So, when I'm out and about now, I'm much more comfortable, and I think TV had to do a lot with that
Mhm.
when people come up to me or they say, "Oh, there's the midget," or there's, whatever, I said, "Well, that's not the term we like to be called. It's a
Mhm.
little person, or call me a dwarf." I mean,
Mhm.
basically that's what we are.
Mhm.
And but if someone is consistent in
Mhm.
doing that, that's where I say, okay, we have a problem, you know. But I'm not going to get upset if someone says it because they may not know. They
Yes.
might have forgotten.
Mm.
I'm thinking, do I want this person to go away then? Well, look at that little person, man. She's got something up her butt, or do I want them to go away with, hey, well, at least she had a conversation with me. At least
Mhm.
she helped me understand. Whether they understand or not, at least I felt better about uh, that is not appropriate,
Mhm.
or something. Or, when parents, and I get it because so many people respond in such a negative way the minute someone says anything bad
Mhm.
or that they don't like. So
Mhm.
when a parent has a kid, well, mom, why is that lady so short? Or, she looks funny or whatever it is. Or
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
a little mom.
Yeah.
The parent often will drag the kid away, but I will, 'cause, half the time you hear all these comments and you
Oh yeah.
choose whether you want to respond or
Oh
not.
yeah. Yeah.
Stay focused, just keep walking.
Yes.
I'll often turn around and say, you know what, you're right. I am a little mom
Yeah.
because I want that kid to recognize
Yeah.
he's processing that. Like, wait a minute, I know she's a mom, but she's not like my mom.
Yeah.
She's little, but
Yes.
there's something like happening here.
Yeah.
So I just say, yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
little mom. I just happen to be short, not tall like your mom. And
Mhm.
okay, off you go. But parents will respond, but I get it because of the response that they may have gotten from other people. And so, um, you know, um, we've been around a long time, and that's why I think individual stories or what we
Mhm.
do in our own individual life probably helps a lot more than if we were to hammer and say how bad people are for saying the word.
Mhm. Mhm.
Be very inappropriate and
Mhm.
very wrong if
Mhm.
you are consistent on using that word and don't acknowledge how that impacts an individual in our community.
Mhm.
Some will blow it off, but depending on their history of them growing up, this really hurts.
Mhm.
This really impacts them. It's like, don't, like, why even go there? So
Mhm. How did Chris like the conference? Was he okay with it? Like once you started telling him how to, you know?
Yeah, I told him, I said, you know what, there's a lot of great people,
Yeah.
but some of them may be hesitant to approach you because
Mhm.
your average height, and this is our conference, our community, and stuff. But I said, you know what, there's a lot of great people. I want you to meet some of the people I know from District 5 because that's still my home district. I love it.
Mhm.
And you know what? He goes, you know what? There's a lot of great people here. I met a
Yeah.
lot of great people.
Yeah.
They were
Okay.
all welcoming and stuff. Because I did tell him, I said, because you're so tall, babe, it is hard for little people just to constantly look up to be able to talk to you. Remember
Yeah.
what I told you why I talk so loud? Because he always says, Amy, you talk so loud. I said, well, babe, the reason I talk so loud is because if I were to talk like this to an average size person, okay, where are their ears? Oh, yeah, that's right. They're not right here. They are all the way up there. So if I talk like this,
You can't hear
they're
them.
not going to pay attention.
Yeah.
They
So
could care less what I have to say. And wait a minute, I have a lot to say. So, you know, I project my voice
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, babe, you might have to kneel down. So
Yeah.
that, you know, because we like to talk, we're, you know, this is our community. We talk to people and it's the greatest
Yeah.
thing.
Like eye to
We're
eye.
able,
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
able to talk eye to
Yeah.
eye and,
Yeah.
you know, all this stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
it is like a thrill because we don't get that. So you might have to kneel down. So I gave him some tips, but no, he loved it. We're going to Austin
Oh, good. Okay.
and I've never been to Austin, so, you know, we'll take some side trips on our own
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's the thing about TV. I mean, I know a lot of great people in
Mhm.
LPA, and, but I would have to say, it's not like we've got friends, or I've had friends, or even Matt and I had friends
Mhm. Mhm.
that we'd call up a bunch of people and say, "Oh, yeah, let's go do this trip together. Or, we're coming down to visit you," or, you know,
Mhm.
something like that.
Mhm.
TV did take up a lot of time, and when your whole life is on TV, not everyone wants to be on TV, and not everyone wants to be on TV with
Mhm.
you all the time.
Mhm. Do you have a favorite LPA conference? National, you know.
Oh, wow. Um, well, I mean, at the time, I'd have to say 1986 was the best
Yeah.
for me
Yeah.
because even though I was a district director, we didn't necessarily go to a lot of conferences. We
Mhm.
kind of sparsed in and out.
Mhm.
And then obviously the show came along. But I would have to say 1986. It is where I met Matt.
Mhm.
I went to a number of district meetings.
Mhm.
I was there when DAAA was formed in Michigan by
Yes.
Brian Morris, Len Sawich, and maybe a few other people. Peter Reckendorf's dad. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, so that was also when DAAA
Mhm.
first had their national games.
Mhm.
And I mean, talk about that. That to me has been the biggest compliment
Mhm.
to LPA. I know not everyone thinks that way because not everyone's into sports or it takes
Mhm.
away or what. I personally think it's been a big reason, not a big a compliment to
Mhm.
LPA.
Mhm.
For the first time, I got to play sports.
Yes, and you featured that on the show briefly.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
playing
What was
playing
that like? Playing.
oh my gosh. I thought, "Oh my god, you're competitive. Oh, you're competitive." I said, "I'll be darned if I'm gonna let these little people guys think they can run all over me." No. No, I had a blast.
Mhm.
It was a lot of fun. And for
Mhm.
the first time, I got to know, like, what my brother felt like when he played sports,
Mhm.
why people like sports so
Mhm.
much.
Mhm.
Not on it for me, it wasn't always about winning and losing, but it was about your physicality, that your body can actually do this,
Mhm.
and just the thrill of being on a team and playing and everything. I think, so 1986, it was held in Detroit,
Mhm.
was probably one of my best.
Yeah.
Another conference that I was part of, which I can't remember where it was at, because
Mhm.
not a lot of girls participate, maybe now so, but,
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
girls, women participate in the sports. So
Mhm.
we had a bunch of these young girls who oh, I'm not sure if I want to play volleyball. I don't
Mhm.
know how to play. I've never played. Well, I ended up being coach. I said, we're playing. I said, girls, who cares what all these people think? It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. I tell you, it will be great. You guys are going to do awesome,
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if we won a game or,
Mhm.
whatever, but, and I think it had the teacher come out in me because I coached my youngest son,
Mhm.
Jacob, who's average height,
Mhm.
soccer for 5 years. And so, not that I know a lot about volleyball. I'm not, strategic. And of
Mhm.
course, this is a one-time thing when we're playing a national game. But I felt at the time that when some of those girls walked off, they had a different perspective about themselves, like
Yes,
their
yes. Mhm.
capabilities and, the thrill of it. Like, whoa, I said, yeah, you guys listen. Because I
Mhm.
didn't want people doing what I did growing up being a little person. No,
Mhm.
don't knock yourself down.
Mhm.
Don't exclude yourself before you even gave yourself a chance.
Mhm. Mhm. So you mentioned briefly about your siblings. Did you ever take them to an LP event with you?
That's
Like,
interesting.
did you take them with you?
I don't think my younger brother may have came
Mhm.
one time. I do not remember.
Okay.
I do not
Okay.
remember my sisters going.
Mhm.
It was like my parents took me.
Okay.
My sisters may have been older enough to stay at home, and maybe my brother came,
Mhm.
but I do not remember this being a whole family
So you
event.
didn't take them. You didn't take your sisters or your brother to nationals when you went on your own. You didn't take them.
Well, you'd have to understand they were married and had
Oh
kids
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
or were having kids. And when
Mhm.
my first national was pretty much my third year or whatever in
Oh
college. So,
yeah.
I was like 21,
Mhm.
22.
Mhm. Mhm.
My other sister was 24, 25, and my
Oh
oldest sister was like 27. So
wow.
they were like living their own life,
Yeah. Yeah.
type of
Mhm.
thing. So no, it was pretty much uh it was on my own.
Yeah. Did you want them to go with you to so that they could see
Yeah.
what you
Tell you the truth, I never thought about
really?
having
Okay.
them come or asking them or thinking they wanted to come. It's one of those situations where I probably had more of, let me see how I can handle it first
Yeah. First.
and
Okay.
then bring
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Because I'm unsure about it myself with
Yeah.
who I am and what I
Mhm.
thought.
Mhm.
And, just remembering that feeling like, what are they going to think about all this?
Mhm. Mhm.
So a lot of times I should have more trust
Mhm.
in the people I'm with. I remember an incident in college where, again, I always thought you had to dress as best you could, being a little person,
Mhm.
have, good manners and everything, because I never wanted anyone to say something about me just because I was a little person. If I'm
Mhm.
not good at something, I'm just not good at it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I always related, well, I'm probably not good at it because I'm a little person or, whatever.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
my very good friend, um, so, people would stare and everything.
Yeah.
I'm so used to people staring at me, I really forgot about her
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
what she may have thought. Not
Mhm.
necessarily what she thought about me,
Mhm.
but she's not used to having everyone stare.
Mhm.
And she was thinking people were staring at her. I was thinking more, well, they're staring at me and wondering why on God's earth is she with me? Because,
Mhm.
who wants to hang out, with someone different and all that.
Mhm.
So we talked about that years later and we laugh about it because we had such a different perspective
Mhm.
on that occasion of how people responded or stared or looked,
Mhm.
that she was saying, well, yeah, this is my friend, but are you staring at me? Like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I
Mhm.
dressed okay like this?
Mhm.
So we can get wrapped up into our own head.
Mhm. Yes,
Not all
especially.
good all the time.
Yeah. No. So being that it is October, what does National Dwarfism Awareness Month mean to you?
Well, I think, I'm glad that we have,
Mhm.
that we finally got a month designated, just for, I mean, there's a lot of things part of October too, but I'm glad that we have a month dedicated to dwarfism awareness. I think
Mhm.
it's just another opportunity to let people know about us individually,
Mhm.
but as a group collectively. Because I don't assume just because we had the TV show, there's been other little people TV shows out there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Why we've been on probably almost the longest is beyond me, which I'm very grateful for because I
Mhm.
I wouldn't be part of who I am without everyone liking the show. So thank you, everyone. But I don't assume that, everyone's watched the show, or just because they watch the show, they have, thoughts. I think it's always an opportunity to have this device, or the organization, or DAAA or something like that, to tell your own story. To, Little People Big World has their story of them collectively and individually, but so does, other individuals, whether their platforms or whether their thing, they can, emphasize Dwarfism Awareness Month, and, tell their story, tell information about little people and stuff like that. And not always tell it in a sugar-coated way, but like all of us, we all have our challenges and stuff. I often relate it to like an onion. Some people may only need to
Peel back
peel
the
1 or
layers,
2
yeah.
layers of the onion. Well, we sometimes got to peel 10 before people will, oh, okay, I get it.
Mhm.
Yeah, do you get it that, I like to wear good clothes just like you, but I can't find anything?
Yes, right? Exactly.
It was, well, I'll give you a funny example.
Mhm,
And because I had to razz Chris about it. We were looking at a house, because
mhm,
we're thinking about, maybe looking for a different house and stuff like that than the one we're in. Anyway, we were looking at a house and everything, and loved it. Most of the windows were down low. Like, yeah, I'm not just seeing like this. I'm seeing like, whoa, man, this is awesome. Well,
mhm.
I think one of the windows in the bedroom or some other place, it was up high, and he goes, wow, this is a great view. And I'm said, well, I'm glad you can enjoy it because I see nothing. He goes, oh, yeah. So I said, no, I'm only kidding. But it's those lighthearted comments where
Yeah,
he meant
yeah,
nothing of it. And we,
yeah,
being little people,
can
whether when in the
see, yeah.
store or whether
Mhm,
ever like that,
mhm,
we have to be careful that we don't jump down people's throats over that,
yeah,
because most likely, not all the time, most
mhm,
likely it's an innocent remark. The thing that will get me though is
mhm,
if you do ask for help, or you do ask, oh, I prefer this or that or whatever, and they respond differently.
mhm,
I'm like, seriously? Really? Like you're not going to do it?
mhm,
Like what?
mhm.
I'll tell you another thing. Um, it's one of the reasons why I check my bag now for the airlines.
Really? Okay.
There have been too many incidences in the past where I had flight attendants deny lifting my bag up into the
What?
baggage thing. Oh,
Why?
no. Well, I'll get to that. They denied it. I'm like, "Excuse me, what?" "Well, no, we can't do it. We're not allowed." I'm like, "What do you mean you're not allowed?" And I
Yeah,
was pissed. "Well,
that's
you can ask someone else." And I'm thinking, "Okay, so I've gotta ask another passenger, and we
yeah,
know that businesses are heightened over this whole liability stuff, so I'm gonna ask another passenger. They may or may not be able to lift my luggage, and I'm thinking, if I can lift it, anybody can lift it. What happens if they trip or fall and they get hurt? Who are
yeah,
they suing?
yeah,
And so I thought, I don't even wanna go through this again. And I'm
yeah,
thinking, well, what happens about old people? They may
yeah.
not have the strength anymore, but they're still taller. Anyway, I was so livid. I don't even wanna deal with it. I checked it. I checked the bag, and that's why I'm so mad at the airlines where, okay, I'm flying. Everyone needs a bag
Yeah.
to fly. So why are we charged a fee? It's beyond me. Oh,
Interesting.
by the way, this is why it takes so long to get on and off the plane, because everyone's checking their bag. So one time I was so livid because the flight attendant turned me down.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I said, well, okay, Amy, you're probably going to make a spectacle of yourself, but here we go. So I climbed on the seat. I put my 1 foot on the armrest,
Uh-huh.
lifted up my bag, and I was, starting to put it in the baggage. Well, the pilot comes out, happens to be a male pilot. He goes, oh, let me help you. I looked at him and I said, no, I can do this. I can take care of it. So I put it in there. I was like, what? So all these women livers, oh, I can't do it. What I found out, but a man can do it. But what I found out, because another flight attendant came up, normally that doesn't happen. I'm sorry that happened, but you know, what it told me was, I think it's written in their union contract the person who lifts that luggage up is the gate person. You know, when you first, here's my ticket, I can get on the plane. That person is the one that comes. I'm like, well, that makes no sense whatsoever. The flight attendant is on it. I'm like, you know what, people? You're in a plane with 100 people or more, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If this plane's going down, I don't know what a flight attendant is going to do, man or woman.
Yeah.
It's going to do. We're all going down.
Yeah.
You're just trying to keep the peace while you now got to panic here because the plane's going down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do you do then?
Uh-huh.
And lift my luggage up and put it up there. So those are moments that obviously get me mad.
So now we're moving on to the TV show. How did Little People Big World start? It's been 17 years, 24 seasons. How did it all begin?
Well, I think how our show began, as I look back, there weren't the reality shows out there that we see now.
Yes.
Maybe not Boy Meets World or Big World or maybe Ozzy Osbourne. They might have done a little reality show, but who cares? There weren't the reality shows out there.
Yeah.
So we were on some of our local TV shows.
Really? Okay.
We were on a couple of national ones, and those may have happened because we were on our local ones. A lot of times at that day, they looked at a lot of these other shows. Oh, that looks like, great family. Interesting family. We'll interview them and stuff like that. Matt had written his own book like 5 years prior. So, they looked people up and, oh, he wrote a book, type of stuff. And so someone approached us or got a hold of Matt and said, hey, we'd love to do this show, like a documentary and feature your family on it. So we went ahead. The first time was going to be a show about 3 different families and tell each of their stories and stuff like that. And then they'd go on to probably 3 other families or whatever it is. Well, that network didn't pick it up. They but because he had kind of the initial idea, he couldn't really do anything probably for about 6 months later because that network still owned the concept. So Matt and him kept talking to each other. And then he said, you know what? I kind of want to do a show just with your family. Here you are living on a farm. You got little people, you got every size. That's very interesting, blah, blah, blah. So that's really how it started. We had to do another pilot and then see how that, and then we did a couple of shows to see how that went. And then we went into regular episodes or a few episodes or whatever, what they called back then in 2006. And that's when it became on the air. And so that was TLC. So we've been here ever since. Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, I know, right? I mean, yeah, and I remember, my mom used to have the old episodes on VCR tapes.
Oh,
It's like, I think season 1, I think. Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah.
Let's see. The one question that I usually get is, do I go back and look at those episodes? Do I see them?
Do you go back and watch?
No.
Why?
I don't. So much has happened in my life.
Yeah.
And this element of TV has been a part of it. And so, some of the things like I mentioned before, we film 3 hours, you're seeing like 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah.
And so when I see an episode, I'm like, okay, I could see how people gathered that little impression of me. But my mind also goes, but I remember this. I remember this. I remember this. I didn't get all of that with this 3 minutes, So that to me was a little frustrating because it didn't tell everything. But of course, this is TV. You can't film 3 hours. People would be bored stiff, so you got to condense it to something that's interesting. So I tell people, yeah, it's a real show. But what changes that in some ways is because you're only seeing 3 minutes and not the whole thing.
So during the time, you published a memoir called A Little Bit of Me. What what inspired you to finally sit down and write the book? Was it during filming? Like, did you like doing filming? Why did you decide to write this?
Well, to be really honest with you, I'm not sure why I wrote the book. I think writing a memoir like this, it probably ended up being a little more cathartic for me.
Yes.
And it was very scary. You know, just growing up and how I grew up, or, you know, how I chose to do that. You know, I kept a lot in, you know, you say good things, you always paint it's like a different kind of social media, but you're actually meeting people, you know, make it all sound good, you know, make it all, you know, you don't want to sound like you got problems or issues. And because then they're like, okay, she's not only a little person, but she's got issues. So I think the book was a little cathartic. I had gone through a lot. Divorce took a big toll on me. That was probably one of the hardest things that I had to go through. Some parts of doing the show was very hard. And I thought, you know what? I want people to get a little bit more of me, like before the show, and maybe have a little bit understanding and a little more depth than this little 3 minutes that they get to see about me or my family. I didn't want a book that I'm talking about my whole family all the time, because that's not my story to tell. I got to tell it from my perspective. And so I tried to tell a story a little bit about me and how what was the main thing that kept me going all of these years, almost every day of my life. And that was really my faith. And I wanted people to understand that we all face challenges, but we all got to find that one thing that should not change because the wind changed, should not change because someone said something, should not change because your heart was broken or you physically got hurt. And but those moments will be one of the toughest and hardest moments of your life to overcome. But what is one of those things that it doesn't matter how hurt you were or all the success you have, or, you know, what is it, the thing that kept my life in perspective? And that was my faith. So I really wanted to, you know, I didn't hammer that. I subtly, I think, you know, gave that, but it was faith. So it was a little cathartic. It was a little about letting people know a little bit more about me than what they assumed from the show. And that one of the first things that my father said on my first day of school, I mean, this is a lot of this is in the book. I was scared to death to go to school. I refused to go to school. It was like I was comfortable in my own little home. I knew I could manage that. You know, now I'm going out into the big bad world, and it's like, oh my God, what are all these people going to think of me? And, you know, but yet my family never did any of that, or I didn't have really any bad experiences before I went to school, but for some reason, this was a big bad world out there. And so one of the things when, you know, he took me, and before he took me, I put it in more, you know, he talked to me in kid language, but I probably put it in a little bit more of a perspective of what I see it now. But that, you know, God doesn't make mistakes. You know, I'm here for a reason. I was born a dwarf. There's nothing on this planet that I can do to ever change it. You can't, you know, suddenly, you know, put in a new bone and I'm, you know, average height, you know, type of thing. And because God doesn't make mistakes, and I'm perfectly who I should be, and I matter. I have my big motto now is MVP, but it's not necessarily most valuable player. I recognize that individual who's done something good in a sports, or most likely, or a company or something like that. But sometimes I think it leaves out everyone else that maybe help participate in that. But MVP to me, I want to remind myself that I matter, I have value, and I have purpose. But I also want to let other people know, so do you. You're an MVP as well. Don't forget that. And regardless of what's happening in your life, you always matter. You always have value. Your purpose may change, but there's value. You always can give something of worth to somebody, to something, or whatever. You matter because you were born, you breathe, you participate.
Mhm.
And your purpose, well, it could be a teacher, it could be a writer, it could be
Mhm.
um and stuff like that. So that's probably, some of the main reasons I wrote the book. I wanted people to know a little bit more about me.
Mhm. Mm. So on the show, briefly, we see you cooking in the kitchen, and
Oh
that
yeah.
has led you to create Amy's Little Kitchen, your YouTube channel. So how did that start? What made you decide to do a YouTube channel?
Well, I have a very good friend who is a very good friend, number one, but she's also my business partner, and we
Mhm.
started the Amy Roloff Charity Foundation. We had that for a
Mhm.
long
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
But I think, going through divorce, her father dying, we kind of put that aside, and now we have dissolved Amy Roloff's Charity Foundation. I think I started cooking and just posting some stuff, and it
Mhm.
was probably just prior to the pandemic.
Mhm.
And then, we got a team together, a couple of, because I don't do editing. I'm not techie. Someone else does my editing. I have no idea even how to do that.
Mhm.
I'm shocked that I can even get out an IG, Instagram, social media post out,
Yeah, yeah.
type of thing.
Mhm.
So I have someone do that, but it just evolved really. I've been cooking since I was about 14. I
Oh,
cooked our
wow.
family dinners. My
Okay.
mom worked, started working back in the late 60s, and that was just the beginning. I mean, I look at her as like, man, I didn't realize, this was tough. Like,
Mhm.
but I tell people, I go, she was probably a better working mom than she might have been a mom, an at-home mom.
Mhm.
But she started working, everything. So in order to get food on the table, dinner table at a reasonable time, my sister started cooking, but they lasted like barely a year. But then I got into it.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite toys as a kid was we had a metal kitchen back then. It wasn't all this little tykes and,
Mhm.
plastic
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
I loved the kitchen. I
Mhm.
loved it.
Mhm.
Anyway, I always wanted to open up my own restaurant. I don't know. It was one thing that it didn't matter whether I was a little person or average height or something. I loved cooking. It brought people around. It was
Mhm.
hospitality. It was something that I could do for someone else.
Mhm.
And I just enjoyed it. And
Mhm.
so little Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen started, and it's believe me, it's not like I'm getting rich off of it. I'm just really appreciative that
Mhm.
people are enjoying the videos. I do it a lot of it myself. It's not like I have it's not like my TV show where I have a crew here and
Yeah, yeah.
doing all this.
What are your favorite dishes to cook? Like, what do you like to make?
I like dishes, Midwest dishes. I like
Yeah.
dishes that I grew up with. Meatloaf, Salisbury steak.
Oh, wow.
I'm kind of getting into some of the more ethnic cooking. Like, I think I was pregnant, and for some reason I got turned off of curry. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
curry, yuck.
Yeah.
But I'm now getting back. Well, okay, slowly, let's get into it. So I made buttered chicken. I thought, oh, this is kind of good, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Then I made a couple other dishes with using coconut milk, because I'm
Uh-huh.
like, coconut milk. Is your food
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
taste like coconut?
Yeah.
Ew, who
Yeah.
wants that all the time?
Yeah.
So I'm self-trained. I am learning constantly.
Yeah.
I made up
Yeah.
some of my own recipes.
Yeah.
A lot of recipes out there. Like when you take meatloaf,
Uh-huh.
everyone understands the basic. Most people understand the basic
Yeah.
element. You need
Yeah.
ground
Yeah.
beef.
Yeah.
You need something that binds it, an egg.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too wet, so you add some breadcrumbs and
Yeah.
everything. All of the other stuff is what you want to do. You can make
Yes.
meatloaf. You can make
Mhm.
Italian meatloaf. You can
Mhm.
make, whatever other kind of
Yeah.
meatloaf.
Yeah.
So, I go online and just say, oh, what are other people doing? Oh, that's a good idea.
Spin it. Yeah.
What's the spin I can put on that recipe that works for me that I like?
Uh-huh.
And so, that's a lot of what I do. And so people can find the recipes and, look at the videos at Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen or my YouTube channel. Love it if
Yeah.
people,
Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen on YouTube.
but I also have, this is not out yet.
When is it coming out?
We are hoping by June. We are
Okay.
hoping by June.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to order this through a link. And but we got to tweak it because I got
That
to tweak
link will
some
be
color.
announced soon. Yeah.
Yes, just go to my site because it'll
Yeah.
probably be announced
Yeah.
before this airs.
Yeah. Yes.
But we're changing the color of this because see how it matches the blue too much?
I like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Not enough contrast for me
Yeah.
between this and this.
Yes.
And And then, there's notes, there's areas where you can have
Yeah.
notes. So if you
Yeah.
made the recipe, oh, Amy, don't like you adding that. I added this.
Yeah.
So you can make notes in it. So when you make it again, now you've turned that recipe into something of your own.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love cooking. I'm sad that I don't cook as much anymore. That was really hard when my family moved away and, they
Yeah.
got older. My kids
Yeah.
got married. They're having their own families.
Yeah.
Because I'm so used to cooking, all these
So
big meals.
much. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
now I've gotten a few smaller pans.
Yeah.
I visually is where writing recipes was hard for me, because when I cook, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll add a little cinnamon. Oh yeah, a
Yeah.
little salt.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
do this. I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So most likely I probably couldn't make the same recipe.
Yeah.
But then when I did these recipes, and that's why I looked on a lot of recipes, because
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you added a teaspoon of salt. So I had to look at a teaspoon of salt. Oh, is that how much I add?
Yeah.
Just wing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I had to visually, and a little bit, it's still hard for me. So I had to visually focus on like, oh, this is a tablespoon of cinnamon. Well, I know I don't add quite that much.
Yeah.
So
Do
yeah.
does Chris like to cook? Is he a good cook? Or?
Well, he's never been married. Chris has
Okay.
never been married.
Okay.
And so, when we started going out, I'm like, okay, what are you thinking? Like, you're tall. Like, what are your friends saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that, because I'm like, are you not bothered by that? Like, what are your friends saying? What do you hear out there? Like, you're, in your early 50s and you're dating me? Like, what? Our paths would have never have crossed if it wasn't for the show.
Yeah.
We both recognize that.
Yeah.
And so being a single guy, he would open up a can and maybe add a little bit of rotisserie chicken to it to add more protein or something, or a little
Yeah.
carton of cottage cheese and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So he
Yeah.
jokes, which makes me happy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he likes everything,
Yeah.
because he hates vegetables.
Oh, really? Okay. That's
What?
yeah.
No, you need to eat more vegetables. No, oh. I made this Brussels sprout, shaved, like cut up thin
Yeah. Yeah.
Brussels sprouts, and added
Mm.
some stuffed, some browned
Mhm.
mushrooms to it, lemon zest and stuff like that to it. And just lightly sauteed it.
Mm.
I didn't want it mushy, lightly sauteed. Well, because it had a little crunch and because it's Brussels sprouts, ew, I don't think he ate any of it. He might have taken one bite. I'm like, really? Seriously? Anyway, no, he loves he really enjoys my cooking. So that makes me
Good.
happy.
Good.
He's on a couple of the videos.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
glad he graciously is on some of them at the end to taste it
Yeah.
and stuff. But no, he says I ruined him. He
Oh.
goes, it's not the same when you leave
Okay.
and I open up a can of soup or something like that. It's like that has no flavor. Like, what is this? Like, did she not leave me any food? Like, what? So I thought, oh, so you need me.
Yeah. We should also mention that your book is on sale and can be purchased at the link that you gave for the cookbook, amyroloff.com. Is that
Yeah,
right?
Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen. You
Yeah.
probably can go online and find it, but Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen, I will
Yeah.
sign it.
Yes.
So every book that goes out, I have signed the book.
Oh, wow.
So if that matters to people,
Yeah.
but
You can
yeah.
order that. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I think it's Amy. We have it over at Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen, or you can find it on my website, which is
amyroloff.com, right?
AmyJRoloff.com.
Oh, Amy J. Yes. Okay.
You know
Yes.
why I had to add the J?
No. Why?
Because I guess when you're out there and you're quote a celebrity or have a show, when that whole domain thing came out, everyone took Amy
Really?
Amy Roloff
Interesting.
this, Amy Roloff that.
Wow.
And to tell you the truth, I was really like pissed. It's like, wait a minute, that's my name. Like, why do you think you get to own
Yeah.
my name? Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And so that's why my website is amyjroloff.com.
Mm. Okay.
Because I can't use, and I'm like, no, I'm not paying you to have my name back. Oh, I was so mad. And then Amy Roloff's Little Kitchen has its own little page too.
Yeah,
So,
and you can find the cookbook, the printables, right? And then
yes,
the
yeah.
memoir.
And we have
That's it.
a little me. In fact, I
Yes.
don't even have a.
I have it. It's in my bookshelf, so I have
I
it.
know mine is too somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Anyway,
But you-
yeah, a little me. This book, we're hoping that'll be out in June. So
So by
that'll
the
be
time you see this video, folks, it will be on
Yes.
sale.
Yeah, so by
Hopefully.
time you guys get to see this, I hope you check it out. It's got some,
Yeah.
good home cooking
Yes.
recipes. I'm not a fancy,
So if people missed your last cookbook, is that also available for sale also?
It can be, but it's
can.
out of stock now.
Oh,
And you might be
So-
able to find it online.
Amazon, people.
I have very
Yes,
few
yeah.
copies
Mhm.
of this. So a lot of times I will boy, in fact, just saying that reminded me, I got to get a couple out for a fundraising event that I know 2 friends are having. I'll probably have to next day it now. But I'll usually give, I want to save a few because obviously that's my first book kind of.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I want to, I'm giving that out
yeah.
along with my memoir as a fundraising thing.
Will that be republished or no?
No, I don't think so. We went through a publisher with this.
Oh, yeah, okay,
And
yes.
that publisher is no longer, because it was a small publisher.
Ah,
I
okay.
learned a lot about going through publishers. Ugh, that's a hard thing. This one is pretty much self-published.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, we're doing it self-published.
yeah.
And stuff. So
Well, thank you, Amy. Tune in till next time, people. Goodbye.